Let me speak to you directly. Most people think power comes from the body, from strength, speed, or skill. But they're wrong. True power begins in the mind. When I trained, I didn't just train my body, I trained my consciousness. I shaped my thoughts until they could cut through fear like a blade. The successful warrior, I once said, is the average man with laser-like focus. That focus doesn't appear by chance, it's built by following certain rules. Forbidden rules of the mind. These rules aren't written in books or taught in dojos. They're earned through silence, pain, and awareness. I followed them, lived them, and they made me untouchable not because I could fight others, but because I conquered myself. So, listen closely. I'm going to share the 7 forbidden mind rules that unlock limitless potential. Follow them, and nothing, no one, not even life itself, can break you. 1. Silence the inner noise before every action. Bruce Lee believed that the true battle in life is never between you and another person, it's between you and your own noisy mind. Before every physical movement, he sought complete inner stillness. He called this state moving without a thought, a place where the body acts freely, without hesitation or self-doubt. Most people make the mistake of thinking too much before they act. They replay fears, what-ifs, and comparisons in their minds until they freeze. But Bruce understood something deeper. When the mind is crowded, the body becomes clumsy, and energy is scattered. When the mind is silent, the body moves with precision, speed, and grace. He practiced this silence in everything from combat to daily life. Before throwing a punch, he didn't calculate angles or think about winning. He emptied his mind, allowing instinct to take over. The moment you stop thinking, "Can I do this?" or "What if I fail?" you unlock the natural intelligence of your body and spirit. Bruce didn't wait for confidence to appear. He created it through silence. Instead of trying to control every move, he allowed his training, intuition, and awareness to guide him. This rule is more than just about martial arts. It's a way of living. Every day, your mind is bombarded with noise, opinions, doubts, expectations, and fears. That noise drowns out your inner voice, the one that knows exactly what to do. When you quiet that chaos, you begin to see clearly. Decisions become effortless. Creativity flows. You stop reacting and start responding. Bruce's secret was that he never allowed mental clutter to stand between thought and action. He moved from clarity, not confusion. To silence the inner noise, you must learn to pause. Take a breath before you act. Observe the flood of thoughts without fighting them. Let them pass like clouds across the sky. When the storm settles, what remains is stillness, and in that stillness lies truth. That's where instinct lives. That's where courage begins. Bruce Lee didn't just silence the noise, he mastered it. He knew that real power comes from a calm mind. When your mind is still, your movements become natural. When your mind is clear, your purpose becomes unstoppable. The moment you stop overthinking, the world slows down, and your actions become sharp, effortless, and alive. So before every challenge, before every decision, remember this: don't think too much, be fully present. Don't let the chatter of fear, comparison, or hesitation decide for you. The more silent your mind becomes, the stronger your energy grows. Because true mastery, as Bruce Lee lived it, begins the moment you stop asking for permission and simply become the answer. 2. Never seek control, flow with intention. Bruce Lee's philosophy wasn't about dominating life or forcing it into shape. It was about flowing, moving with awareness, grace, and purpose. He often said, "Be water, my friend." Water doesn't try to control the riverbank or resist the rocks in its way, it flows around them, adapts, and continues its journey with strength and calm. This was Bruce's secret. He never wasted his energy trying to control what couldn't be controlled. Instead, he directed that energy inward to his focus, his reaction, and his state of mind. Most people make the mistake of clinging too tightly to outcomes. They plan, expect, and demand that everything go their way. But life is unpredictable. The tighter you grip, the more it slips through your fingers. Bruce understood that control is an illusion. The more you chase it, the more you suffer. He realized that real mastery isn't in controlling the situation, it's in controlling how you move through it. Like water, he could bend without breaking, adjust without losing direction. When Bruce faced obstacles, he didn't resist them, he used them. If life pushed him, he flowed with that push and redirected it into strength. This is the deeper meaning of his martial arts philosophy. He didn't fight force with force. He used the opponent's energy against them. He transferred that same rule into his mindset. Every disappointment, every delay, every criticism, he transformed it into momentum instead of resistance. Flow doesn't mean weakness. It means balance. It means being so centered within yourself that no external force can throw you off course. Bruce didn't float aimlessly, he flowed with intention. He knew exactly where he wanted to go, but he allowed the universe to guide the path. He trusted the rhythm of life while staying rooted in self-awareness. That's why his movements, both physical and mental, appeared effortless, because he wasn't struggling with reality. He was dancing with it. To follow this rule, you must learn to let go of the need to control every outcome. Instead, ask yourself, how can I adapt? What can I learn from this moment? When you flow, you become unstoppable, not because you overpower life, but because nothing can resist you for long. Like water, you find your way through, around, or beneath every obstacle. Bruce Lee's life itself was proof of this philosophy. When he faced rejection, he didn't fight it. He redirected it. When his body was injured, he didn't give up. He evolved mentally and spiritually. Flowing with intention doesn't mean giving up control. It means mastering the only thing you ever truly have control over, your inner state. So when life challenges you, don't stiffen, don't resist. Flow. Move with awareness, not fear. Adapt, but never lose yourself. Because once you understand that control is an illusion and awareness is real power, nothing can hold you back. You become like water, soft enough to adapt, yet powerful enough to carve through stone. 3. Erase the ego mind completely. Bruce Lee understood that the greatest battle a person can ever fight is not against the world, but against their own ego. The ego is a silent enemy. It hides beneath your thoughts, your reactions, and your identity. It makes you crave validation, fear, judgment, and compare yourself to others. It whispers, "You're better than them," or "You're not good enough." Either way, it keeps you trapped in illusion. Bruce Lee trained his mind to rise above that illusion by practicing what he called no mind, a state of awareness beyond the ego's control. To Bruce, the ego was like a heavy weight that slowed movement, distorted perception, and destroyed flow. In combat, if he entered the ring thinking about reputation or pride, his focus would break. He didn't want his mind clouded by thoughts like, "I must win," or "I can't lose." He wanted to respond freely, instantly, purely. That is why he said, "Empty your mind, be formless." He wasn't talking about physical flexibility, he was describing mental freedom. A mind without ego doesn't cling to victory or fear defeat, it simply acts with precision and presence. The ego mind thrives on comparison, it always needs someone to feel superior or inferior to. But Bruce saw through this illusion. He realized that the need to prove yourself is proof that you haven't truly found yourself. The moment you chase validation, you hand your power away. So he let go of labels, roles, and the need to impress anyone. He lived by authenticity, not approval. He didn't want to be the best fighter. He wanted to be himself completely, without distortion. Erasing the ego doesn't mean losing identity. It means freeing yourself from the false one. It means seeing clearly without the filter of pride, fear, or insecurity. When Bruce trained, he didn't think, "I am Bruce Lee, the legend." He thought, "I am a student, learning endlessly." This humility gave him infinite room to grow. The ego says, "I already know." The open mind says, "Teach me more." And that is where evolution begins. In your own life, the ego may appear in subtle ways. When someone criticizes you and your anger rises, that's the ego defending its illusion. When you boast about success to feel superior, that's the ego seeking reassurance. When you fear failure or judgment, that's the ego afraid of losing control. Bruce trained himself to notice those reactions, not to fight them, but to see through them. When awareness shines on ego, it dissolves naturally, just like darkness disappears when light enters the room. Without ego, there is peace. Without ego, you can truly listen, truly learn, and truly act. The ego divides you. It makes life a constant performance. But when you drop it, life becomes effortless. You move from your true self, not the mask you wear for others. That's why Bruce's movement seemed so pure, so alive. He wasn't trying to be something, he simply was. To erase the ego mind, begin by observing it. Notice when you feel the urge to prove, defend, or compare. Take a breath. Ask yourself, who am I trying to impress right now? The more you watch it, the weaker it becomes. The moment you stop identifying with it, you rise above it. Bruce Lee achieved mastery not just because he trained his body, but because he tamed his mind. The man who conquers his ego conquers his limitations. When you erase the ego, you stop living for the world and start living from your essence. You no longer chase recognition, you radiate authenticity. And that's when you become truly powerful. Because nothing anyone says or does can shake your inner foundation. As Bruce once said, to be bound by tradition, by ego, is to be trapped. To be free, you must let go. And when you finally do, when the ego mind disappears, you don't just perform better, fight better, or live better. You become limitless. Quattro. Turn pain into mental fuel. Bruce Lee understood that pain was not the enemy, it was the greatest teacher life could offer. While others tried to escape pain, he studied it. He dissected it. He let it burn him, reshape him, and make him stronger. He famously said, "Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one." These words were not just motivation, they were a philosophy born from experience. Bruce's life was filled with trials, physical injuries, rejections, and cultural barriers. Yet he transformed every wound into wisdom, every failure into fire. From a young age, Bruce faced prejudice and doubt. When he came to America, people mocked his accent, questioned his abilities, and rejected his vision of bringing martial arts to Hollywood. He was told he was too short, too foreign, too different. But instead of collapsing under those words, he used them as fuel. Every insult became a reason to train harder, to prove not to others, but to himself that he was unstoppable. Pain became his sharpening stone. Then came the moment that would test him beyond imagination, his back injury. Doctors told him he might never fight again, that he should give up martial arts forever. For many, that kind of news would mean the end of a dream. But Bruce Lee turned that agony into a revolution. While his body healed, his mind exploded with creativity. Lying in bed, he filled notebooks with philosophy, technique, and insight. He studied himself, his fears, his purpose. That period of physical pain became the birthplace of his deepest wisdom. He learned that when the body is broken, the mind can become infinite. To Bruce, pain wasn't just physical, it was emotional, spiritual, and mental. He saw that every human being must pass through suffering in order to awaken. Pain strips away illusions, it humbles you, it shows you who you truly are beneath the masks. When you lose, when you're betrayed, when you're misunderstood, those moments hurt. But they also carve space inside you for strength, compassion, and understanding. Bruce knew this truth deeply. You cannot grow without discomfort. Every transformation demands destruction of the old self. He once compared pain to fire. If you fear fire, it will burn you. If you learn from it, it will forge you. The difference lies in your relationship with it. Bruce didn't run from suffering. He met it face to face and asked, "What are you here to teach me?" Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" he asked, "How is this helping me evolve?" That mindset shift is the essence of turning pain into power. Most people spend their lives avoiding discomfort, escaping into distractions, blaming others, or numbing themselves. But Bruce trained the opposite way. He exposed himself to challenge intentionally. He welcomed failure as feedback, not as defeat. When his muscles screamed, he smiled. When exhaustion hit, he pushed one more round. When life knocked him down, he didn't curse fate, he thanked it for the lesson. He realized that pain builds mental armor far stronger than comfort ever could. You see, pain isn't punishment, it's preparation. Every hardship, every heartbreak, every loss is shaping you for something greater. Bruce used his pain to discipline his mind. He would say, "The successful warrior is the average man, with laser-like focus. That focus is not born in comfort, it's born in struggle." Pain taught him patience. Pain taught him presence. Pain taught him the truth that strength is not in avoiding suffering, but in embracing it with awareness. When you start viewing pain this way, your entire world changes. You stop fearing problems. You stop seeing failure as final. Instead, you see challenges as opportunities for refinement, like a sword that must face the heat before becoming sharp. Your mind must face struggle before becoming unbreakable. Bruce Lee turned pain into energy, energy that fueled his purpose. Think of your own life. Every moment that hurt you, every rejection, every mistake, every sleepless night was not meant to destroy you, but to sculpt you. The pain that feels unbearable now is often the same force that awakens your deepest potential. The key is to stop resisting it and start transforming it. When you face pain consciously, it becomes strength. When you run from it, it becomes fear. Bruce didn't glorify suffering, but he respected it. He understood that the human spirit grows only when it's stretched beyond comfort. Every time he was tested, he reminded himself that life was not happening to him, it was happening for him. This mindset gave him peace amidst chaos and power amidst pain. So when life hits you hard, don't curse the storm. Become the storm. Let your pain refine your mind, not poison it. Let it burn away weakness, doubt, and fear until all that remains is clarity and resilience. Bruce Lee's life teaches us that pain is not the end, it's the beginning of awakening. Remember, your scars are not signs of defeat. They are symbols of strength. Every time you fall and rise again, you prove that pain can be transformed into wisdom. That's the ultimate forbidden mind rule. Use your suffering as sacred fire. Let it forge your purpose, focus your mind, and awaken the unshakable warrior within. Because in the end, pain does not destroy those who face it with awareness, it purifies them. And when you've learned to turn pain into mental fuel, you reach the point Bruce Lee did, where nothing outside of you can control what burns within you. 5. Detach from outcome, focus only on expression. Bruce Lee lived by one of the most powerful and misunderstood principles of the mind. Detach from outcome. He understood that when your actions are driven by obsession with results, fear begins to grow. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. But when you shift your focus from what you might gain or lose to the simple act of expressing yourself fully, you become unstoppable. For Bruce, life and martial arts were not about victory or defeat, they were about pure expression. He said, "The function and duty of a human being is the sincere expression of oneself." This was not a poetic line. It was a way of living. In every punch, every movement, and every word, Bruce Lee aimed to express his essence, not to perform, not to impress, but to be. That's why his art, Jeet Kune Do, was called the art of expressing the human body. He wasn't trying to fit into tradition or please anyone else. He wasn't fighting to win trophies or fame. He fought to see how deeply he could express truth through motion. His focus was never on the outcome, it was on the moment. When you give your energy entirely to the moment, you enter a state of flow where effort disappears and mastery begins. Bruce often saw people trapped by their own desires. They trained only to prove something, to reach a goal, to outshine others. But that attachment made them rigid. It filled their minds with anxiety and hesitation. The fear of losing kept them from moving freely. He taught that the mind must be free from the desire of success or the fear of failure, because the moment you attach your self-worth to the result, you stop growing. You start performing, not living. This rule goes far beyond martial arts. It applies to every part of life. Many people dream of success but are crushed by the weight of expectation. They want to be perfect, admired, and validated. But Bruce's wisdom reveals that perfection doesn't come from chasing an image, it comes from expressing reality as it is. When you stop forcing life to give you something and instead give your full presence to what you're doing right now, you reach a deeper level of excellence. Success becomes a byproduct, not a goal. When Bruce stepped in front of the camera, he didn't act to please the audience. He acted to express his truth. His energy was so real, so raw, that it resonated with millions. That's the power of detachment. It frees you from pressure and connects you with authenticity. The ego wants applause, but the spirit wants expression. Bruce knew that to become limitless, one must learn to create without chains, to act, speak, and move from the heart, without calculating the reward. Detachment doesn't mean apathy or laziness. It means caring deeply about the process while releasing the obsession with control. It's like planting a seed with love, but not standing over it every minute asking, why hasn't it grown yet? Bruce lived in alignment with that truth. He trained every day with absolute focus, but he didn't measure his worth by how fast he improved. He knew that when effort flows from sincerity, the results take care of themselves. He once said, "When one is not expressing himself, he is not free." Those words carry profound meaning. You can spend your whole life chasing validation titles, money, recognition, but if you never express your real self, you remain a prisoner. Bruce's detachment gave him liberation. He could fail publicly, be criticized, even misunderstood, and still remain at peace. Because he wasn't attached to how others saw him, he was anchored in his own authenticity. This principle can transform your life too. When you detach from outcomes, you stop living in the future and return to the present. You stop worrying about what might happen and start focusing on what is happening now. You become alive in the process, alert to every detail, every feeling, every movement. And that presence produces results far greater than any forced effort ever could. Think of how much anxiety people create by chasing success. They attach their happiness to something that hasn't happened yet. I'll be happy when I win, when I get there, when I prove myself. But Bruce's wisdom flips that completely. Happiness isn't at the end of the road, it's in the walk itself. When you detach, you can enjoy the training, the challenge, the creation, without being consumed by fear or greed. That's how true mastery is born, when you learn to move from joy, not pressure. Bruce's life proves that this mindset leads to greatness. He never begged for opportunities. He built himself until the world had no choice but to notice. He didn't act to please, he acted to express. That's why his influence lives on decades after his death, because it came from authenticity, not ambition. He was free from the chains of external approval, and that freedom gave his work timeless power. To practice this rule, remind yourself daily, you are not here to impress the world. You are here to express the truth inside you. Do what you love with full intensity, but don't cling to what comes after. The more you let go of the outcome, the more energy flows through you. Detachment opens the mind, softens fear, and unlocks creativity. It allows you to act from strength rather than insecurity. When you detach, you begin to understand that the journey itself is the destination. Every step, every mistake, every setback becomes meaningful. Bruce Lee lived this truth in every breath. He knew that victory was not something to achieve, it was something to embody. He once said, "Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own." That is the essence of expression. Living from authenticity instead of expectation. So, stop chasing approval, stop obsessing over results, pour your heart into what you do, and let the universe decide the rest. Because when you detach from outcome and focus on expression, you stop being a performer and start being a creator, and that's when the world begins to bend in your favor. Bruce Lee didn't just teach us how to fight, he taught us how to live freely. And freedom, as he proved, begins the moment you no longer need to win. You just need to be 6. Reprogram the mind every day. Bruce Lee believed that the mind is not a fixed structure, it's clay. Every day, you are shaping it, consciously or unconsciously. The thoughts you repeat, the beliefs you feed, the emotions you hold, all of these become the blueprint of your destiny. He understood that if you don't take control of this process, the world will. Society, culture, and fear will program your mind for limitation. That's why Bruce made mental conditioning a daily ritual. He didn't just train his body, he rewired his thoughts, polished his beliefs, and strengthened his inner dialogue. He once said, "As you think, so shall you become." He lived by that truth. To Bruce Lee, mental reprogramming wasn't something mystical, it was discipline. Every morning, he filled his notebooks with reflections, affirmations, and new philosophies. He would write sentences like, "I am learning to understand rather than to judge," or "I will not be controlled by fear." He dissected his own thoughts like a scientist studying a specimen. If an idea felt weak, he replaced it with a stronger one. If a fear surfaced, he questioned its root. He treated the mind like a muscle that needed to be exercised daily. And just like any muscle, it grew sharper, faster, stronger. Most people wake up and let the world decide their mindset. They scroll, compare, complain, and consume. They don't realize that every word, every emotion, every thought is programming the subconscious mind. Bruce refused to live that way. He chose his input deliberately. He filled his environment with what elevated him: books, training, silence, and reflection. He understood that you cannot think like the masses and expect to live like the masters. If you want to live at a higher level, you must feed your mind higher material. Bruce saw the mind as the command center of reality. He often said, "The mind is the master power that molds and makes." Everything you experience originates in thought. Your strength, your weakness, your confidence, your fear, they are not external, they are trained mental habits. That's why Bruce placed so much importance on awareness. He constantly asked himself, is this belief mine, or was it planted by others? That question became his weapon against societal conditioning. He refused to let culture or opinion define his limits. Instead, he constructed a new mental architecture, one rooted in truth, not conformity. When he built his martial art, Jeet Kune Do, he broke away from every traditional system. He tore down what was unnecessary and built something that flowed naturally. But this wasn't just a fighting philosophy, it was a mental model for life. Reprogramming the mind means exactly that. Breaking free from the mental traditions that restrict you. Most people follow the same mental patterns for years, thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same emotions, reacting the same way to challenges, and wonder why nothing changes. Bruce's answer was simple: because your mind is running on the same software. To change your life, you must update your inner code. That update begins with awareness. The first step in reprogramming the mind is observing it. Notice what you say to yourself when things go wrong. Notice how quickly you judge, how fast you give up, how deeply you fear. Don't condemn these thoughts, watch them. Then replace them. Bruce replaced fear with curiosity, doubt with confidence, resistance with adaptability. He didn't allow negative thought loops to stay unchallenged. Whenever his mind whispered, "You can't," he responded with, "Watch me." That defiance wasn't arrogance, it was mastery of inner dialogue. He treated every day as a reset, a chance to refine his mental design. He trained his focus through meditation and presence, reminding himself that thoughts are tools, not rulers. He wrote, "To control your mind means to control your life." And he practiced this control not by suppression, but by redirection. If anger appeared, he didn't bury it, he transformed it into intensity. If fear arose, he turned it into alertness. Every emotion became energy he could shape. Think of how powerful that is, to live each day as a sculptor of your own consciousness. To wake up and choose your identity, your thoughts, your emotions, rather than inheriting them from yesterday. That's what Bruce Lee did. He was never the same man twice. Every morning, he questioned himself. What can I improve today? What can I unlearn? What no longer serves me? This constant reprogramming kept him evolving faster than everyone around him. While others repeated patterns, he rewrote his own. Reprogramming the mind also means letting go of old stories. Many people live trapped inside mental cages, built years ago. Someone told them they weren't smart, strong, or worthy, and they believed it. Bruce shattered those illusions. He believed that identity is fluid. You can become whoever you choose through consistent thought and action. He lived that truth, an Asian man in Hollywood at a time of prejudice, creating his own space where none existed. That was not luck. That was mental engineering belief built into reality. So how can you follow this rule? Start simple. Every morning, before touching your phone, touch your mind. Ask yourself, what kind of energy do I want to carry today? Write your thoughts, challenge your fears, replace weak patterns with powerful ones. Choose what you will allow into your awareness, because the mind, when left unattended, absorbs everything. Fear from the news, anger from social media, doubt from others. You must become the gatekeeper of your consciousness. Bruce once said, "Defeat is a state of mind. No one is ever defeated until defeat has been accepted as a reality." That is the essence of mental reprogramming. You decide what is real in your mind, and your body follows. Every limitation you hold is a command your subconscious is following. Change the command, and the outcome changes. He approached the mind as an artist approaches a canvas, layer by layer, stroke by stroke. Some days required erasing, others demanded color. But every day mattered. Repetition was his secret weapon. Just as muscles grow through repetition, the mind transforms through consistency. Every thought repeated is a seed watered. Plant fear daily, and you'll harvest anxiety. Plant courage daily, and you'll grow confidence. Bruce knew that truth intimately. He trained both the visible and invisible parts of himself with equal precision. Over time, this daily reprogramming made him something extraordinary, not just a martial artist, but a philosopher of consciousness. He didn't live reactively, he lived intentionally. His reality wasn't random, it was designed. So remember this: every single day, you are either programming your mind or being programmed by the world. You are either the coder or the code. Bruce Lee chose to be the coder. He decided what his mind would believe, what emotions would dominate, what thoughts would guide him. And you can too. Reprogram your mind every morning, unlearn what weakens you, rewrite what strengthens you, and remind yourself that every thought is a brushstroke painting the story of who you are becoming. Because once you master your mental code, once your inner world is shaped by your own will, nothing external can ever rewrite you again. 7. Merge body, mind, and spirit into one force. Bruce Lee believed that a human being becomes truly powerful only when the body, mind, and spirit move as one unified energy. Most people live fragmented lives. Their body wants comfort, their mind wants success, and their spirit longs for peace. But these forces pull in different directions, leaving them drained and conflicted. Bruce saw this as the root of weakness. He realized that strength is not in any single part, it's in harmony. When the body obeys the mind listens to the spirit, and the spirit fuels the body, a person becomes unstoppable. That state of alignment was Bruce Lee's true secret, his hidden weapon that made him appear superhuman. From the outside, people saw a man of muscle, speed, and precision. But inside, he was something far more powerful, centered. Every strike he delivered was a conversation between his body and his consciousness. His movement wasn't mechanical, it was alive, flowing from his entire being. That's why his presence commanded attention even in stillness. When you watched him move, you weren't just watching a fighter, you were witnessing unity in motion. He once said, "The body is an instrument of the mind, and the mind is the instrument of the spirit." He meant that physical strength without inner balance is incomplete. You can train your muscles all day, but if your thoughts are chaotic and your emotions unstable, your body will never move with true precision. Likewise, if your spirit is disconnected from your purpose, your actions will lack depth and meaning. For Bruce, mastery began when these three pillars, body, mind, and spirit, aligned perfectly. Let's break this down. The body is your foundation. It carries you through the world. Bruce treated his body not as an ornament but as a vehicle for expression. He trained it to obey, not to rebel. He fed it discipline, rest, and respect. Every punch, kick, and stance was designed to be efficient, no wasted movement, no wasted energy. But he didn't worship the body. He trained it so that it could serve something higher, the expression of the mind and the truth of the spirit. The mind is the command center. It shapes every action and perception. Bruce trained his mind through constant reflection, study, and meditation. He understood that a distracted mind leads to a weak body. When the mind is focused, every cell in the body follows that direction. That's why his strikes were so fast. His mind had no hesitation. The signal from his thought to his muscle was pure, direct, and unhindered by doubt. The spirit, though unseen, is the source of all power. It's the spark that fuels purpose, resilience, and creativity. Bruce believed that if the spirit is weak, no amount of skill or intelligence can save you. The spirit gives life its meaning. It's the inner fire that drives all action. For him, martial arts was not about violence. It was a spiritual practice, a way to connect deeply with the essence of being alive. Through combat, he didn't seek dominance. He sought understanding of self. When body, mind, and spirit merge, something extraordinary happens. You enter a state of total flow. The separation between thought and movement disappears. You're no longer thinking, you're simply being. Time slows down, awareness expands, and every action feels effortless. This is the same state elite athletes describe when they say they are in the zone, or what monks call oneness. Bruce lived in that zone deliberately. He trained for it, meditated for it, and protected it. But achieving this unity isn't easy. Most people feed one part and neglect the rest. Some chase physical strength while ignoring their inner peace. Others drown in philosophy but ignore discipline. Bruce warned against imbalance. He said, if you spend too much time thinking about a thing, you'll never get it done. And also, knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do. He merged intellect with action, contemplation with motion, calm with fire. To practice this rule in your life, begin by connecting these three parts every day. Start with the body, move it, stretch it, breathe through it. When you push your body past laziness, your mind begins to awaken. Then feed the mind, read, reflect, question everything you believe. Don't let your mind be a cage of fear and conditioning. And finally, nourish your spirit. Spend moments in silence, gratitude, or prayer. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? What do I serve beyond myself? When these three begin to align, even small actions gain immense power. Bruce experienced this harmony most profoundly in stillness. He said that the true warrior is calm not because life is easy, but because his inner world is in balance. When body, mind, and spirit are synchronized, chaos loses its grip. The mind becomes steady, the body moves naturally, and the spirit radiates strength without aggression. That's why, even when Bruce faced public criticism or personal hardship, he didn't crumble. His power didn't come from the outside. It was anchored deep within. He taught that life is like a river. Your body is the water, your mind the current, and your spirit the source. When they flow together, you move effortlessly toward your destiny. But when they fight each other, you drown in confusion and fatigue. He spent his life learning how to flow, not fight. He listened to his spirit before he acted. He allowed his body to follow instinct, and he trained his mind to stay still amid chaos. When you reach that level of alignment, fear fades, doubt loses power. You stop fighting life and start flowing with it. Every action becomes meditation. Every moment becomes purpose. That is the highest state of being, a life where thinking, doing, and being are one. Bruce Lee's power wasn't magic. It was mastery. He built his strength not just in the gym or the dojo, but in the temple of his own consciousness. Every day, he merged his physical energy, his mental focus, and his spiritual depth into a single current of force. That's what made him unstoppable. Not muscle, not fame, but unity. So if you wish to unlock your limitless potential, stop treating your body, mind, and spirit as separate. Train your body with intention. Discipline your mind with awareness. Feed your spirit with truth. Do this until they no longer speak as three voices but one. Because when you reach that point of inner alignment, you will understand what Bruce Lee truly meant when he said, "When there is no distraction, the spirit will flow freely." That's the final forbidden rule. When the body obeys the mind, and the mind listens to the spirit, you stop being just human. You become a force of nature. You become flow itself. 8. Embrace the infinite adaptability of the mind. Bruce Lee believed that the human mind, when truly free, could become infinite. It could evolve endlessly, learn without limit, and adapt to any situation life threw at it. But to reach that state, one had to destroy mental rigidity, the habits, labels, and fears that make a person stuck. His philosophy wasn't just about being strong, it was about being fluid. He once said, "Be water, my friend." Those 4 words contained an entire philosophy of adaptability, flexibility, and infinite transformation. Most people try to control life, but Bruce understood that control is an illusion. The mind that tries to dominate everything becomes brittle. Like glass, it shatters under pressure. But the mind that learns to bend, to adapt, to transform, becomes indestructible. He saw this truth in combat and in life. When an opponent was faster, he changed his rhythm. When life blocked one path, he created another. Adaptation wasn't just a strategy, it was survival at the highest level. Bruce's adaptability came from awareness. He constantly studied his environment, his emotions, and his limitations. He didn't cling to fixed systems or ideas. He once said, "Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own." This wasn't just advice, it was a blueprint for evolution. He absorbed knowledge from boxing, fencing, philosophy, psychology, and even poetry. He built his martial art, Jeet Kune Do, not by adding more techniques, but by removing everything unnecessary. His genius was simplicity, being adaptable enough to strip away anything that no longer served growth. To Bruce, adaptability was the essence of intelligence. He believed that a wise mind doesn't resist change, it thrives in it. The adaptable mind is calm when plans fail, creative when things go wrong, and fearless when the unknown appears. It flows with circumstances instead of breaking under them. This was the mental state Bruce lived in daily. He didn't define himself by success or failure. He defined himself by his ability to transform again and again. When Bruce faced racism, rejection, and injury, he didn't complain, he adapted. Hollywood didn't want an Asian man as a leading actor, so he went to Hong Kong and became a legend there. When his back injury threatened to end his career, he used the recovery time to evolve intellectually and spiritually. He didn't let circumstances dictate his growth, he used them as material for reinvention. He proved that adaptability is not just reacting to life, it's mastering the art of becoming new when the old no longer fits. Most people cling to what they know because change feels uncomfortable. But Bruce knew that comfort is the slowest form of death. The moment you stop evolving, you begin decaying. To him, adaptability wasn't optional, it was the natural state of life itself. He observed that water, nature, and even thought are in constant movement. Stillness only exists in death, so he trained his mind to flow, not freeze. When faced with change, he asked not, "Why is this happening to me?" but "What is life trying to teach me?" He taught that the mind must remain open, curious, and flexible. When you resist new ideas, you imprison yourself. When you welcome them, you expand. That's how Bruce grew. He never let tradition or pride become a cage. He questioned everything, even his own beliefs. He evolved his philosophy, his body, and his art continuously, never repeating yesterday's version of himself. Every morning, he woke up as a new man, mentally sharper, emotionally deeper, spiritually freer. To apply this rule, look at your own life. Where are you rigid? What beliefs or fears keep you from flowing? The adaptable mind begins with humility, the willingness to admit that you don't know everything. Once you accept that truth, you stop defending your limitations and start exploring possibilities. You become a learner again. You see challenges not as threats, but as teachers. Bruce trained adaptability not only in physical combat, but in emotional discipline. When anger arose, he didn't let it control him. He used it as awareness. When disappointment appeared, he didn't sink into despair. He redirected it into drive. This is the highest form of adaptability, to turn emotions into tools, not traps. Every obstacle became a mirror for self-reflection. Every setback, an invitation to grow. That's how he stayed undefeated, not because he never fell, but because he never stayed down. He described this state of mind beautifully. To flow like water means to be fluid, to move with the world and not against it. When life pours you into a new container, new job, new relationship, new challenge, don't resist. Fill the shape, learn the lesson. Then, when it's time to move again, flow onward without attachment. This flexibility of being is not weakness, it's supreme strength. The oak tree that refuses to bend breaks in the storm, but the reed that bends survives and rises again. Bruce lived as that reed, rooted, yet flexible, grounded, yet free. He also taught that adaptability is the bridge between body, mind, and spirit. Your body must be trained to endure, your mind must be trained to observe, and your spirit must be trained to let go. When all three flow together, nothing can disrupt your peace. You don't fight life, you align with it. You learn to dance with change, not fear it. To Bruce, adaptability wasn't just survival, it was self-liberation. He didn't want to be trapped by identity, technique, or even success. He wanted to be limitless. That's why he became a philosopher disguised as a fighter. His real art wasn't martial, it was mental. He didn't teach people how to fight others, he taught them how to stop fighting themselves. So when you face uncertainty, remember this: you are not here to control life, you are here to flow with it. When everything around you changes, don't cling, adapt. When you fail, don't retreat, evolve. Every time life reshapes you, become water again. Because adaptability is not about losing shape, it's about finding strength in formlessness. Bruce Lee's legacy reminds us that true mastery is not about perfection, it's about evolution. The mind that adapts never breaks, never gets trapped, never stops growing. It becomes infinite. And when you reach that level, when you can adjust to anything, life throws your way with grace, awareness, and strength. Then, like Bruce Lee, you will discover that nothing in this world can confine you. Because the mind that adapts cannot be defeated. It only transforms. 9. Master the power of emotional stillness. Bruce Lee often said, "A quick temper will make a fool of you soon enough." Behind that simple warning lived one of his deepest mind, rules the art of emotional stillness. To him, power was not in the punch, but in the pause before it. Mastery didn't come from reacting, but from responding with awareness. He understood that the most dangerous opponent was not outside of him, it was the storm of emotion within. To conquer the world, you must first conquer your inner turbulence. Most people think strength means explosion, yelling, striking, asserting dominance. Bruce thought differently. He saw emotional control as the highest form of strength. A man who can remain calm when insulted, rejected, or provoked holds a weapon stronger than any fist. Because anger clouds judgment, fear paralyzes action, and ego blinds wisdom. When emotions take control, the mind becomes a slave. But when awareness governs emotion, the mind becomes a master. Bruce trained this mastery the same way he trained his kicks and punches through daily discipline. He didn't try to suppress emotions, because suppression only buries fire deeper. Instead, he learned to observe emotion. When anger arose, he didn't act, he watched it. When fear appeared, he studied it. He treated emotions like waves, impossible to stop, but always temporary. His goal was not to destroy the wave, but to ride it without being drowned. That's what he meant when he said, "Be like water." In combat, emotional stillness was his greatest advantage. He never allowed an opponent to provoke him into reckless moves. He stayed centered, calm, fluid, reading, adapting, anticipating. To him, rage was noise, and in noise, you lose clarity. His calmness wasn't weakness, it was razor-sharp precision. He could read the tiniest shift in body language, the faintest hesitation, because his mind was undisturbed. In life, he applied the same rule: stay calm while others panic, stay composed when others collapse. That's how you remain in control of your destiny when the world loses its balance. But this rule wasn't limited to physical fights, it applied to emotional battles too. Bruce experienced deep personal pain, racism, betrayal, injury, and misunderstanding. Yet, he rarely reacted from emotion. He responded from principle. That's emotional stillness, when your response comes not from impulse, but from inner intelligence, when you are no longer ruled by feelings, but guided by awareness. He taught that every emotion is energy. Anger, fear, grief, these are raw forces of life. Most people waste them through reaction, but the wise transform them through reflection. Bruce used every emotion as a tool. When anger rose, he converted it into focus. When sadness appeared, he used it to deepen understanding. When fear showed up, he sharpened his awareness. His secret was not escaping emotion, but transforming it into power. He would often meditate, not to escape the world, but to master his reaction to it. Sitting in silence, he observed the flow of thoughts and feelings without judgment. This training gave him control during chaos. He could walk into a storm and remain still inside because he no longer depended on outer calm to feel inner peace. He understood that silence inside the mind is not the absence of emotion, it's the command of it. Modern psychology confirms what Bruce already lived. Emotional regulation determines resilience, creativity, and clarity. When you are calm, your brain sees patterns others miss. You make better decisions, learn faster, recover quicker. Bruce embodied this truth long before science proved it. His ability to move with lightning speed came not from tension, but from relaxation, the same principle that applies to thought. A relaxed mind performs with greater precision than an anxious one. Imagine living that way, no more being hijacked by frustration or anxiety. Imagine walking through chaos with unshakable composure. That's what Bruce trained for. He wanted to move through life like a mountain surrounded by clouds, still, grounded, and immovable, even as storms passed by. He understood that emotional stillness is not about being emotionless. It's about being free. You feel deeply, but you don't drown. You experience pain, but you don't collapse. You face criticism, but you don't lose yourself in reaction. To practice this rule, begin by noticing your triggers. The next time someone angers you, Pause. Don't respond instantly. Take one deep breath and feel the emotion rise and fall. Observe it without adding story or judgment. This simple act breaks the automatic cycle of reaction. The moment you observe, you reclaim your power. Over time, that pause becomes your greatest strength. It's the difference between reacting from weakness and responding from wisdom. Bruce knew that the man who can't control his emotions will always be controlled by the world. He said, "To control oneself is to be in harmony with the universe. That harmony comes when your emotions no longer pull you in every direction, when your mind is like a lake, reflecting reality without distortion. Then, you can see clearly, act decisively, and remain peaceful no matter the outcome." Emotional stillness also connects to spiritual depth. When your emotions are chaotic, you are trapped in the noise of the surface mind. But when you quiet them, you touch something infinite within the still presence that watches all things come and go. Bruce called this awareness the real self. It is beyond thought, beyond fear, beyond pain. It is the observer, the part of you that never changes, no matter how turbulent life becomes. He lived from that center. That's why even in his most intense fights, he seemed effortless, almost serene. His movements flowed from stillness. His presence carried silence even in motion. That's the paradox he mastered, the still mind that moves faster than chaos. So if you want to live as Bruce Lee did, unshakable, untouchable, truly powerful, learn to master emotional stillness. Do not let your feelings drive your fate. Feel everything, but remain centered. Let the storms of life come and go, and you will discover what Bruce found. Beneath all emotion, beneath all fear, there is an ocean of peace waiting to guide you. Because when your emotions no longer control your mind no longer limits your power. You act from clarity, not confusion, from wisdom, not impulse. You stop reacting to life and start shaping it. That's the secret Bruce Lee lived by. When the storm inside you becomes still, no force outside you can ever shake you again. 10. The mind as a mirror. Reflect, don't retain. Bruce Lee believed that the human mind, at its highest state, should be like a mirror, perfectly reflective, but never clinging to what it sees. He often said, "A wise man is one who is not attached to anything." To him, this wasn't just philosophy, it was mental combat training. He knew that the mind, when burdened by memory, emotion, or judgment, becomes heavy and slow. But when the mind learns to reflect reality without holding on to it, it moves with lightning speed, clarity, and truth. This was the foundation of his mental mastery, the mirror mind. Most people live as if their thoughts are permanent. They hold grudges, replay arguments, and relive old failures. Every experience leaves residue, and that residue clouds perception. Bruce understood that you cannot fight clearly or live freely when your mind is filled with yesterday. He trained himself to experience fully, then let go completely. He said, "If you pour water into a cup, it becomes the cup. If you pour water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle." The mind, like water, must take the shape of the moment, but flow freely once the moment ends. In martial arts, this principle was everything. A fighter who clings to the last move becomes predictable. If you're thinking about the punch you just missed, you'll be too slow to see the next one coming. Bruce's goal was to eliminate that delay. He trained his consciousness to respond instantly, to see, reflect, act, and release. In his state of no mind, there was no space between perception and action, no interference from fear, ego, or analysis. The mind was a mirror, reflecting truth, but never retaining distortion. This rule applies not only to combat, but to life itself. Many people move through their days reacting to ghosts from the past. They carry old pain, guilt, and anger into every new experience. They judge new people through old wounds. Bruce recognized this as mental stagnation. He believed that the mind must be cleansed daily, just like the body. Meditation was his way of polishing the mirror, sitting in silence, watching thoughts arise and fade, until the surface of the mind became clear again. Only then could he see reality as it truly was, not as his past painted it. He once said, "The usefulness of a cup is in its emptiness." This truth guided his entire philosophy. The emptier your mind, the more life can fill it. When your thoughts and emotions occupy every corner of your awareness, there's no room for learning, no space for truth. Bruce lived by constant unlearning. He questioned his habits, his beliefs, even his victories. He refused to let yesterday's knowledge harden into dogma. To him, the moment you stop questioning is the moment you stop evolving. This is what made Bruce Lee so fluid. He didn't define himself by titles, traditions, or expectations. He didn't even confine himself to one style of fighting or one identity. He said, "I do not believe in styles. I do not believe in forms. I believe in the expression of the human body." The mirror mind sees beyond structure. It absorbs what's useful, releases what's not, and remains clear enough to receive new understanding. The mirror mind also reflects emotional mastery. Bruce learned not to cling to praise or pain. Compliments didn't inflate his ego, and criticism didn't wound it. He understood that both are just reflections, fleeting, external, meaningless, unless you attach to them. In that freedom, he found peace. When the world shouted, he stayed silent. When others reacted, he remained grounded. His strength wasn't cold detachment, it was deep awareness. He could feel everything without being ruled by anything. He applied this principle even in relationships and fame. As success grew, so did pressure, expectations, and noise. But Bruce refused to live through the lens of others' opinions. He knew that, to see clearly, the mirror must remain untouched by dust, the dust of validation, comparison, or fear. The moment you start caring too much about how the world sees you, you lose the ability to see yourself. He cleaned that mirror every day by returning to simplicity, training, reflection, and presence. The mirror mind is the opposite of resistance. It accepts what is, learns, and lets go. When life changes, it doesn't fight the change. It reflects it, adapts, and continues flowing. That's why Bruce never feared failure. To him, failure was not an identity, only a reflection, a temporary image that passes once you stop staring at it. He moved forward with clarity, never dragging the weight of mistakes behind him. This is why he advanced faster than others. While they analyzed, he acted. While they remembered, he evolved. To cultivate this state in your own life, practice seeing without holding. When someone insults you, observe it, but don't internalize it. When you make a mistake, learn from it, then erase it. When success arrives, appreciate it, then release it. The mirror that reflects everything but holds nothing remains forever clean. The moment you cling, you distort your vision. When you can look at life and simply see, without labeling, judging, or replaying, you enter Bruce's no-mind state, the highest freedom a person can reach. This is not indifference, it's heightened awareness. A mirror doesn't ignore the image, it reflects it perfectly. Likewise, a wise mind doesn't avoid experience, it fully feels it, but doesn't get trapped in it. Bruce lived this balance every day. His clarity came not from avoiding emotion, but from allowing it to pass through him like wind through an open field. He once wrote, "To realize freedom, the mind must be emptied of ambition, fear, and memory. Only then does life flow through you instead of against you." When you train the mind to reflect and not retain, something beautiful happens. Time loses its grip. You stop living in the past or worrying about the future. Every moment becomes fresh, alive, and infinite. You act with total awareness, like a dancer perfectly attuned to the rhythm of existence. That's what Bruce called living expression. In that state, life is no longer a struggle, it's movement, music, energy. This is the ultimate evolution of the mind, a state of pure presence, beyond reaction, beyond attachment. The mirror doesn't fear what it reflects, because it knows nothing stays. In that same way, Bruce lived without fear of loss, aging, or death. He knew that everything changes, and that resistance is what creates suffering. His peace came from deep acceptance. So, remember this forbidden rule. Don't let the past cloud your clarity. Don't let the future steal your peace. Let every moment come, teach, and go. That's how you remain untouchable. When the mind becomes a mirror, life becomes art. Every thought, movement, and emotion reflects truth, and nothing can distort your vision again. That's when you finally understand what Bruce Lee meant when he said, "When there is no mind, there is clarity. When there is no form, there is freedom. When there is no self, there is power." Because the one who reflects everything becomes one with everything. and that is the highest state a human mind can reach. Bruce Lee's life was more than philosophy, more than martial arts. It was a demonstration of what happens when a human being learns to master the unseen world within. His muscles made him fast, but it was his mind that made him timeless. Every move, every word, every silence came from a man who had gone beyond ego, beyond fear, beyond limitation. He had trained himself not just to fight opponents, but to dissolve the barriers between body, thought, and spirit. These 10 forbidden mind rules weren't about becoming superhuman, they were about becoming real. They teach that power doesn't come from force, but from balance, from stillness before action, from awareness instead of reaction. Bruce proved that when your mind becomes clear like water, your actions flow without hesitation, and your spirit remains unshaken no matter what life throws your way. He didn't live to win the world, he lived to master himself, and through that, he became eternal. His mind rules remind us that the true fight is never external. The real opponent is your own chaos, your fear, your doubt, your attachment. Defeat them, and the world bends to your calm. Ignore them, and you become your own cage. The path Bruce walked is the same path open to you. Silence the noise, flow with intention, let go of ego, turn pain into strength, express yourself fully, reprogram your beliefs, align your body, mind, and spirit, and remain adaptable, still, and clear. When you follow these rules, you begin to realize that no one can truly break you because nothing outside of you has control over your inner state. That's the essence of Bruce Lee's legacy, the realization that freedom is found in mastery of the self. He once said, "The key to immortality is first living a life worth remembering. And that life doesn't begin in fame or fortune, it begins in the quiet victory within your own mind." So train not just your body, but your awareness. Don't seek control, seek flow. Don't chase perfection, express truth. Don't resist life, merge with it. When your mind becomes still, adaptable, and limitless, you'll understand what Bruce Lee lived for, the state where nothing can break you, because you have already become one with everything. That is the unbreakable mind. That is the way of the dragon within.